with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
7:37. Let's check the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. And this update is a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combining heritage and innovation in every cup. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is their family tradition. Online at papanicholas.com. Eden's at 21 Lake Cook Road to the junction. The Kennedy, 75 minutes O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange. Solid on the inbound Ike between Harlem and Holman Avenue. Inbound Stevenson, 51 minutes from the Tri-State into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Could have a thunderstorm in spots this morning, otherwise clouds and sun, and a high of 85. Currently clouds and 74. Your next news is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Get Down to Business with Shalom Klein, the show for business powered by Mirabali Insurance, Sunday evenings at 6.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. There's nothing more unwelcoming than when the business community in a particular neighborhood, in a particular urban center, doesn't make appropriate room for the unhoused. And that's what's going on in L.A. And, of course, Mayor Karen Bass, indistinguishable from other big city mayors, put Karen Bass in Chicago, put Brandon Johnson in L.A. It would be the same story in both cities. Karen Bass had deployed her troops to remove the encumbrances in front of these businesses in a particular neighborhood that are not providing enough safe space for the unhoused. Of course, obviously, the right play.
And just like that, the planters are gone. The city citing businesses need permits, and these planters are an obstruction. But business owners say no more than the tents that used to line Sunset Boulevard for years, encampments encroaching over the entire sidewalk.
This is like bare minimum of where we should be right now. We should never have a thoroughfare blocked with bodies and waste because the city neglects the area. And this is not a war on homelessness.
Andrew Monheim owns Monheim Microphones nearby and says it's unbelievable.
It's totally disrespectful to small businesses and the people that have been the lifeblood around here. And I'm not just talking about myself, but like businesses that thrive around here and they keep the pulse. There's no reason that they should have to stand around and watch like this go to the worst possible scenario.
And it's not just the business owners.
This is the first time I've been able to walk down this street in years because it's been filled with drug dealers, homeless people. It's been unsafe. I almost got ambushed once just trying to walk home. I live right around the corner.
Back in April, 35 people were living in front of the legendary Sunset Sound that nearly had to shut its doors because of the growing encampment. The city says it's worked to get those people housed and says it was a success. But many fear the shady block will once again be overrun with the same issue.
What do you do? Like, you can't walk through here at night with people and not be concerned about the people you're with, your own safety. Not to mention how just disgusting it is.
The battle over the sidewalks is over for now, but businesses say they'll be filing for permits if they can survive in Hollywood long enough to do so.
Yeah, I got to remove those planters to make room for the tent encampments. And gosh, that business owner you heard at the end saying it's not safe to walk around here at night, not to mention it's disgusting. I mean, there's no place for that kind of othering lingo in a welcoming community like Los Angeles, any more than when there would be in Chicago. And, of course, we're looking forward to the glorious opening of 2 new homeless /migrant shelters, welcoming centers for Biden buddies and Pritzker pals, one in Hyde Park and one near Midway.
Yeah. Pritzker announced it yesterday. They're taking a former place where they were quarantining people with measles is now going to be open for incoming because they're expecting more to come here, and they want everything to look real nice and crisp and clean for the DNC.
Exactly, and nothing says crisp and clean and nice than migrant shelters dotting the landscape. For more on this, please be joined by Steve Moore, economist, author of Govzilla. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, guys.
That's the problem with these urban centers is the businesses are getting in the way of the homeless encampments. But obviously L.A. is doing something about that.
I think the story here is very simple. It's that progressives and liberals destroy everything they touch. And, what you were talking about that's happening in Los Angeles is also happening in San Francisco. It's also happening in Seattle. It's also happening in Portland. It's also happening in Chicago. It's happening in New York. And nobody does anything about it. So people leave. The producers, the makers are leaving. And it's almost like the migrants and the homeless are running the city now. Look, I'm a charitable person. I do think we should have homeless shelters and so on. But the fact that you can't, in so many cities, walk down the street anymore of Michigan Avenue in Chicago and not worry about being shot at, the fact that you have feces in the street corners in San Francisco, the fact that you have garbage everywhere in Los Angeles because the homeless encampments just become over. These people are sleeping and pooping in the streets, and nobody does anything about it. And then they wonder why these cities are going bankrupt and why people are leaving.
But there is a little bit of pushback. I don't know if you saw what happened in Oakland. The mayor, Shang Tao, they raided her house last weekend, and 40 have signed a petition for her to be recalled.
Well, the FBI raided her house, and 40,000 have signed a recall petition.
Right, and she starts crying about it.
Well,
I'm not going down like that.
We're
We're not going down like that. The people who voted for me deserve to have their voices heard and communities prioritized. I'm seeking the truth right now, just as much as you all are. But I will not be bullied, and I will not be disparaged, and I will not be threatened out of this office. There are a lot of radical right-wing forces
There it is.
who know they will never
There you
win.
go. It's Trump people. All those
the-
MAGA people went from
It's-
Chicago to Oakland, Stephen
The
Moore.
vast right-wing conspiracy strikes again.
Yeah, right. The problem with Oakland, there's too many MAGA people. There's too
I
many
know.
conservatives. Get rid of them, and that'll make the city revive. I mean, look, this breaks my heart. I love American cities. I love Chicago. I love New York. I love San Francisco, and it breaks my heart to see how these great cities are being ruined. Now, on the other hand, Dan and Amy, look, you had an election there in Chicago. What was it, a year ago?
Yeah.
And it was pretty clear you had a pretty sensible Democrat, and then you had a radical leftist Marxist who the Marxist mayor, Brandon Johnson, got the votes of all the rich whites.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't apologize your way into these offices, which is what Paul Vallis tried to do, but I digress. The interesting thing is to see where somebody will come who takes a more aggressive posture, not actually dissimilar to what George Latimer did against Jamal Bowman in that congressional race where he took out Jamal Bowman.
The squad is shrinking. Yay!
Yeah, but and speaking of New York, it was interesting. I don't know if you saw that Alan Rosen, the proprietor of the world-famous Juniors, is exploring a mayoral run as sort of a centrist Democrat. I don't know a lot about him, so I'll wait and see. But I just wonder if you're going to have a moment in some big city where you have a Giuliani in the 80s or a Richard Riordan in the 80s.
Yeah.
Somebody emerges that is commonsensical, even if they lean left. I don't know. Maybe it'll be New York.
I think it is going to happen. I think at some point you reach a boiling point. I'm surprised that it hasn't been reached already. That's why your election in Chicago last year was so tragic. I mean, how bad do things have to get before people wake up to
Worse.
the fact that Marxism and socialism, progressivism don't work? And the thing that's interesting about that story in Los Angeles is that the businesses are closing down because you can't even get in the door of the business of a retailer because you've got homeless encampments that are blocking the entrances, and then the businesses leave, and then where's the tax revenue going to come from?
Speaking of a boiling point, I don't know if you saw this. We got a real conundrum here, no less than Jeff Bezos' Amazon post with this important report that while it's widely accepted that humans have been heating up the planet for more than a century by burning coal, oil, and gas.
Right.
There also this other problem. Burning fossil fuels doesn't just cause global warming; it also causes global cooling. So the warming is causing cooling, which is causing warming.
Oh my God.
And
that's some mental gymnastics
so,
going on right there.
As Zeke Hosfather, who is a climate scientist and research lead for the payments company Stripe. He just does climate science on the side instead of a side hustle. We're starting from an area of deep uncertainty. It could be a full degree of cooling being masked. So we're heating up, but we're actually cooler than we think. But the problem is the planet is warming, and it's going to implode on itself like a dying star. But we're also very uncertain about it. But Greta Thunberg isn't.
Oh, come on, Dan. You just don't get it. Don't you understand that global warming causes drought and it causes flooding? I mean, come on. You should know this. It causes any change in temperature and any change in the weather is a result of climate change. I mean, the good news is that there is a real backlash against these green initiatives. I don't know if you saw that there was a study that I think it was McKinsey, one of the major, they did a survey of people who have bought electric vehicles, and almost half of them say on their next car purchase they're not going to buy an electric vehicle. And that's not going in the direction that the Greens want. I mean, Biden wants everyone to have to buy an electric vehicle in the next 10 years. It's just, I think people are fed up with this. I don't know if you saw that in Europe. I mean, this craziness is hard to overestimate. So in Europe now, they're charging a $75 climate change surcharge if you take a plane.
Oh, really?
I
like that.
And I guarantee you they're going to try to implement in the United States because, and by the way, only they're going to make flying so expensive that only elite liberals that are very rich can fly on planes, and the rest of us will take, buses and rail cars.
Electric buses, Stephen Moore.
Yeah, well, at some point, maybe the proletariat will be kicked in the nads hard enough to start to provide a little bit more pushback than they've provided. I can afford the $75 surcharge. Everybody else want to pay it? So maybe stop voting for these Marxists. What do you expect to? What do you want Trump to say on Thursday night as it pertains to matters economic, other than I'm going to be America's Javier Milei?
I want Trump to be nice. I just want him to be nice, and I don't want him to be. I watched a tape of the catastrophic debate that he had 4 years ago against Biden. You guys probably remember that, where he's rude and he kept interrupting, Biden every 5 seconds and just came across as a jerk. No, that's not the Trump that we want to see. And by the way, the more Joe Biden talks, the better, right? If I were Trump, I would say almost nothing. Let the guy blabber.
See my time,
an hour and a half. And so I just want to try. I mean, presidential elections are largely about which of these two people do you like better. And the reason Trump won the first time around is because nobody liked Hillary. The reason he lost the second time was because people didn't like him very much. But I have to tell you, his behavior and his demeanor, I've seen him a couple times in the last in speeches and in private. He's just much more calm, collected, factual. I saw him at the Business Roundtable meeting, and so I think that's if we can get that Donald Trump. And by the way, CNN had a report saying they're very nervous that Donald Trump may not act up in this debate.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, but one of the things I think he can do, there's a lot of opportunities for jujitsu in terms of being nice or being room temperature, whatever, and just focusing on substance, or sort of going against caricature. And one of them is actually on immigration. The obvious play is to talk about, and this is important to discuss, all the crime victims, the Laken Rileys and the Rachel Morrins and so forth.
Right.
And that's serious business, especially since he's spoken to the families. But the other thing is to say, on the one hand, I'm talking about mass deportations, and that's all they want to talk about because we have to have some sense to the way we allow people to come into this country. But on the other hand, I'm also saying let's staple, permanent residency cards to college degrees because we want talented people to come here.
Yeah, I love that. I think you're exactly right, Dan. That's exactly what he should say, and that's the policy is endorsed. He said that at the Business Roundtable meeting. Why we want the brainiacs, we want the people who want to work hard here and come in the right way. And if somebody gets a college degree here, let's let them stay, and they're going to be, people who are actually beneficiaries to the U.S. economy. I don't know if you guys saw, by the way, that there was a 15 Nobel Prize laureates put out a letter yesterday. And I swear to God, folks, I'm not making this up. They said, you cannot elect Donald Trump because Donald Trump will cause inflation.
Oh, my God.
Here's the thing that's really funny about this. I mean, it's so ironic. You cannot make this up. These are the 15, almost exactly the same 15 economists who said when Biden became president, they all signed this letter saying, don't worry, Joe Biden's policies won't cause inflation. Of course, 9 months later, we had 9% inflation. Don't you think maybe those Nobel Prize laureates should probably send back their PhDs and their Nobel Prizes and say, we have no idea what we're talking about? Instead, they're saying, no, it's Trump. Trump's the one who's going to cause inflation. The average inflation rate when Trump was president was 2%. Right. So I don't know. These academics are unbelievable.
They're the corollary to the Intel community and Hunter Biden's laptop. Steve Moore, economist, author of Govzilla. Thanks as always, Steve. Appreciate it.
Okay, guys. Have a great week. Take care.
You too. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Finding the right dentist for you and your family, one that you can build trust and confidence in and develop a long-term relationship with, can be difficult. If consistency in your dental care done in a compassionate and caring environment is important to you, then here's someone you should meet.
Hi, I'm Dr. Phil Fidgel of Broadway Family Dental Group. We've been blessed to care for generations of families and make building strong relationships